Die groot totaal van positiewe toetsgevalle in die Wes Kaap staan op 11.072 met 211 aangemelde sterftes. Die Wes Kaap word die episentrum van die pandemie in Suid-Afrika genoem. Winde, die premier, was die afgelope tyd in self-isolasie omdat hy 2 weke gelede moontlik aan die virus blootgestel is. Premier Winde, baie welkom in die program.
Baie dankie, lekker saam te wees.
When will the Western Cape's hospitals reach capacity?
We presume, or we're preparing for the last week in June, first week in July, as our peak in the virus. Our epidemiologists have put that as our trajectory of when we will reach the top point. So that's what we're all aiming to be ready for. And of course, our extra capacity comes on at various dates. Our first hospital is a partnership with Médecins Sans Frontières in kyKNET. We've got the CTRCC coming up. That will be finished. Target is 8 June, and that's 850 beds in the CTRCC. Then we've got a further 300 on a facility on the R300. And then we're also busy with a facility outside of the city in the Winelands. So a number of new bed facilities, and all of those bed facilities are planned for completion by the first week of June.
Premier, so the experts who are advising you, what is their explanation for the fact that, yes, the Western Cape does more testing per capita than any other province, but you have a disproportionate number, all the same, of positive test results and of deaths? Why?
Well, we're still tracking on 1.8 to 2%, which is a norm of positives to death. But also, it's not only the testing now, they're also saying to us that they presume that we are probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, and maybe even parts of South Africa 2.5 weeks ahead of the other regions in the province. And I see that's also being corroborated by a number of professors writing at the moment. So a mixture of a little bit ahead of other parts of the country, but also, I mean, we're still testing more per 100,000 than any other province in South Africa.
So if government decides, Premier, at the end of May, that the Western Cape will remain at level 4 while the rest of the country goes to level 3, what will you do?
Well, obviously, we will challenge that. But also, it's not about the Western Cape. I mean, I've got parts of the Western Cape where we don't have one case, so it can't be seen as the whole Western Cape. And that's the point that we've been making all along, is you can't put these blanket sort of lockdowns now. We've used the lockdown. It's a blunt instrument. We use that to get the health, system ready, put in the extra beds, buy the extra PPE, make sure that we've got the extra volunteer doctors and nurses, prepare ourselves as best we can according to the model that the epidemiologists and the specialists say that is the kind of tracking and percentage of infections that we're expecting. And of course, you've got to get your best guess, and then you've got to set that as your trajectory. We then measure against it, and so far we seem to be on track. We've actually asked for some extra outside experts to have a look at our model as well, and they did that last week. We're getting the data in from them now, and so next week we'll make all of that data public. I also believe in making all of this data public. And then, if we're on track, we'll remain so. If not, we'll recalibrate. But so far, we all seem to be on track. And then that's why we focused on the hotspot model, which is not about saying cities and municipalities need to be swapping between levels 3 and 4 and 2 and whatever, because I think it's going to be chaos in 3 weeks' time when some towns and cities have been told to go to 3 and then back to 4 and vice versa. We really need to be opening up the economy, averting the humanitarian and jobs bloodbath that we've got on the go in the country at the moment, if you've got your health balance right. Because it's about protecting the vulnerable in your community. It's about making sure that we can manage the peak of that curve. But once you've set that in place, you then need to focus on making sure that we don't lose too many jobs. In the Western Cape, we're already around about 200,000 jobs down, and the likelihood that 27,000 of our SMMEs are not going to reopen again.
Premier, In these hotspots, I'm going to ask you about these hotspots. Do you believe that in the real serious hotspots, these 8 regions in the metro and Witzenberg, that lockdowns must remain part of the policy response going forward in these hotspots?
So we haven't called for lockdown in the hotspot. We've got a whole new focus in the hotspot that we've made available, the details of our plans, and we've made that available to the Minister of Health 2 Saturdays ago. He's then called for that document. We've also made it available to the NAT joints, and that's what I took to National for the PCC. And really it's how we zoom into the hotspots like Witzenberg. That's the one that's been going the longest. And you can already see that doubling is not every 8 days now. They've definitely slowed it. And it's about the whole of society and the whole of government approach. Every department has a role to play. Civil society and business also have a role to play. All the government spheres have a role to play. So, for example, just quickly, some of the areas where we've found business making the difference. They're now not all paying all on a Friday afternoon. You pay salaries and wages on different days so that you limit the spread to town. So all the villages and farms from around the area don't all come to town on a Friday afternoon or Saturday because you have congestion. We've also got retailers who are now taking product out to hamlets and villages. So that you're actually spreading you're taking the product out and you're limiting the spread of the virus in the town. We've got extra reinforcement coming in so that when you do have congestion in town, you make sure that you're limiting your congestion outside of your retail and outside of your banks
Premier,
and whatever.
Very briefly, sorry, we're out of time. Very briefly, if the Western Cape remains on level 4, according to national government, you mentioned you'll challenge it. How? In court or where?
Well, I'll have to have a look. I mean, obviously, I would take that to my cabinet. We'd have to have a look at what are the different areas of challenge. Of course, they won't do the whole Western Cape because they can't. It would probably focus on the city and maybe on Witzenberg and 1 or 2 others. And obviously, what I saw initially is it looks like metros. But really, to me, that doesn't make any sense. We're losing too many jobs now. And if we've got your health response, we need to then show that we're actually finding the balance between the two.
Premier Winde, bye-bye, dankie.